Hi there, this is Dr. Fai van Rooyen for Tech Central, and today we're talking to Botha, the CEO of Herotel. Welcome, Vansel.
Hi, thank you, Fanny. Thanks for having us.
So it was recently announced that Herotel will be the South African partner for Amazon Leo through Evry. Firstly, for those who don't know, what is Leo and how did this happen?
Okay, sure. Yeah, so everyone's familiar with satellite technology, mostly for television broadcasting, and there's some internet options available. That is GEO or a geostationary satellite. So that satellite's like 35,000 kilometers away from the planet, and it's sort of like a beam that covers the entire country or part of a country, but it's always fixed in the same location. Now, Leo is about 500 kilometers from Earth, so much, much closer. And what that does is it reduces latency or time. So the big difference with Leo is real time. So we can have this call over Leo Link, or you can work from home, or you can use any video conferencing facilities or whatever you can in real time. So there's not that delay that you normally have with a satellite service. And lots more bandwidth, lots more speed. So by far a superior internet access technology. And the Leo satellite is actually a constellation of satellites that constantly move through space. So you need a couple of thousand of them if you want to cover the whole planet, but you can definitely do that.
Great. You've said that Evry will reach customers that even fibre and fixed wireless cannot serve. So who exactly is the target customer and how many of them are there?
Yeah, there's a couple of different, let's say, studies on the amount of customers available. Anyone can use it. I mean, you don't have to be in a rural place to use it, but it's not a perfect technology for density. So if you imagine a city where there's a lot of people, but anywhere outside of that, it will work fine. So the coverage will be the whole country. The main difference is you don't need backhaul or long haul infrastructure. So currently, when you want internet access, there has to be some kind of national long distance or backhaul fiber that connects a cell phone tower or the fiber in your suburb or your wireless connection. But with Leo technology, all that backhaul sits in space. So you can be anywhere in the country at any time and it will work. Basically, you just need to be able to see the sky and you plug it into power. So the big difference for South Africa is South Africans have always been restricted to internet access depending on the distance to infrastructure. In other words, where they live. Where you live now doesn't matter anymore. You can live anywhere and you'll have exactly the same kind of access. You can deal with anyone in the country or anyone in the world, irrespective of where you live.
Okay. Amazon gets into South Africa without giving up 30% of anything. Doesn't that make the ownership rule kind of meaningless?
Look, so what's different to their model, and I think what works for South Africa and South Africa is they definitely do give up something, because in this instance, they're a wholesaler, not the retailer. We are the retailer. But because they don't enter South Africa, they don't really operate here. We operate here. But the percentage of the revenue we get enables us to appoint local people to sell the service, local people to install the service, to support and maintain the service. So your distribution, the retail part of the Leo service, then is actually local. So that model leaves something behind in the country. And I think that works for the entire African continent, because we're not launching our own rockets. We don't have the capital and access to the same technology to launch our own rockets, but we can still access the technology through a shared model where one party is the wholesaler and the other is the retailer, where some other, let's say, competitors go directly to market, directly to customer or directly to consumer. They leave nothing behind in country. So if you look at Africa with 52 or 54 countries, instead of being completely excluded or sidelined, when you have local distribution and a local retailer, then there is a lot left in country.
Okay. So would you say for those reasons you would not sign the same deal with Starlink, for instance, tomorrow?
I'm not aware that they sign deals like this. I think on the retail market, they go directly. And maybe on the business enterprise or the government side, they sign distribution because it's complicated it takes long to, do a government deal. But at the moment, that's not the model as far as I understand.
Okay. Amazon says the deal isn't exclusive. So what stops them from signing with Vodacom, for instance, next year?
Yeah, I think they like what we do.
Yeah.
Look, we've got about presence in 100 towns outside of metros, 1,400 people and about 600 vehicles. So we can go and install, almost anywhere in the country and support the customer. And one of Amazon's values is customer obsession. So I think, they did speak to everyone in the country, obviously. And I think they like the part that we can really support the customer, if they're on a farm or wherever they are. We'd like to have the first bite at the distribution. So, I think we've got a couple of years to really go and sell the product. But in time, if more people, competitors, other satellite companies enter the country, that's fine. We're happy with competition. We don't shy away from it. We just want to be first for now.
Great. Amazon Leo has never launched commercially anywhere as far as I know and has about 330 of 3,200 satellites up. Why are you taking registrations already? And as a follow-up, you said 2027. Will that be January or December? Do you have a timeline yet?
Yes, I understand they're already testing the product, so it's working. And Amazon wants to go live in the US and Europe this year, so towards the end of this year. So then we'll obviously learn a lot. I can't give a firm date in 2027 because, as you say, it depends on launching satellites. And as I have it, there's a couple of companies in the world that launch satellites for you, like as a service. And Amazon has booked about 100 slots. So if it's 30 satellites, launch, that gives them 3,000 satellites, and that's almost global coverage. But I understand they first want to do the US and Europe, then the Southern Hemisphere that's on the same sort of band is South America, South Africa, and Australia. But everything we've seen, we're confident that the service will be live, and that's the reason why we're taking registrations. We'll release information, as soon as we can, and as soon as we have it. We obviously want to prefer, Herotel customers that's been with us for a long time, and we'll give options later on out to if you want to buy the unit or if you want to have it financed. So as soon as we have accurate information, then we'll release to the market.
Great. Maziv has promised the competition appeal court it would tranche fibre into low-income areas. Does Evry now do that job more cheaply? And as a follow-up, who checks?
Yeah, I think in the Maziv group you have Dark Fibre Africa, and they build metropolitan and long-haul fibers. So they obviously have a strategy to connect, outside of the metros and more rural. And you need that backhaul before you can do what Vumatel or Herotel does, the last mile fiber or fiber to that. So I think in dense areas where you have a large population, that's still the right way to go. But everywhere else, I think Evry or Leo satellite's the right way to go. You asked earlier about market size. We've seen studies that says 480,000, and then we've seen studies that says 2.4 million. It gives you a bit of a wide range, but I mean, there's I don't want to say unlimited supply, but as many as people want will import the units, you plug them into power, and it works. So we're confident, it can make a big difference in the country.
And then when it comes online next year, do you have any indication yet what it will cost, and who carries the rand risk on an imported terminal?
Yeah, so we'll be the importer of reference. So we'll land the terminals in South Africa. So that'll be ours. And then the pricing went for the initial 3-year period, necessarily fluctuate with rand dollar fluctuations. We can't release like full product details yet, but what I almost can say is if you look at Herotel's website, and the fiber products we have, we try and be a value provider. So we don't have middlemen or ISPs between us and the customer. We service the customer direct. So the reason why this product was appealing is that we could match almost entirely our current fiber prices. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what will come in. But as soon as I have it, I'll let you know.
Great, thanks. Right, so Vodacom owns 30% of your parent and competes with you in every rural town. Did they back this deal? And because I mean, you're on the same board after all.
Yeah, so it's interesting when you speak to technology people. They always argue why their technology is the best. But if you look at usage, most internet access technologies are complementary. It's not fiber or 5G. It's both. Because the more you use the internet, the more you want to use the internet. So you download or stream music at your home, but then you get into your car or a taxi or anything, and then you still want to listen to music. So if it's, affordable, then you stream. If it's not, then you download. But whether you're on the move or at the same place, the more you use the internet, the more convenient it gets. You can do healthcare, banking, anything online. So internet usage has never decreased. It actually increases whether you have fiber, 5G, or LEO. But I think LEO is more about connecting the unconnected and reaching those spaces that was impossible. Then it's about, competing in the metro against 5G.
Makes sense. Okay, so turning to the obvious competition, Starlink is still stuck on ownership and licensing, while Amazon Leo is licensed and ready, and you guys as well, obviously. How big do you think is that head start really, and do you think that advantage will last?
Yeah, I mean, for me, if we compete, then we must just play by the same rules. So, if we can't have some people subjective to rules and, other not. But we, in essence, welcome competition. With fiber currently, 2 people can build a township and there'll be 2 fiber networks. There's multiple 5G players. I think, what is it, like 4 or 5 at the moment that does mobile services. So I think any, business or business person wants to be first and wants to connect the first high demand customers. But any rational person will assume that there will be competition. So in fiber, we assume there will be 2 fiber networks everywhere. So how are we the best one? So it just goes the same with Leo. We prefer a head start and we like it. But let's assume there's competition and in a couple of years' time, there'll be competition from China. They'll launch satellites. So, the business isn't static. So we like the head start, but we expect competition.
Then for laypersons, who don't know all of the technical details, why is LEO satellites becoming a thing now? Is it mostly because of the Starlink constellation? Why hasn't it been a thing earlier?
Yeah, very few companies in the world, could launch successfully into space. And to do that was very expensive. So it's mostly been government funded. But I think space technology has improved to such an extent that the launch of a rocket, without people in it, the launch of a rocket with satellites in it, has become cheap enough that you can launch multiple satellites into space. The technology isn't as new, as we think. And for the past 40 years, people have talked about, LEO satellites, but I think it was just too big an investment. And maybe the internet demand or the products on the internet wasn't there to justify the capex. But now that you can launch economically and you can manufacture satellites at scale, it just becomes a viable technology.
Makes sense. So with the LEO satellite capability, does Evry not cannibalise Herotel's own fibre and fixed wireless base? I think you've kind of already answered that in terms of, if you have internet, you want more internet, but you don't think it will eat into the products.
No, we assume, some customers, will move to them. The way we view it is another tool in the toolbox. So Herotel has always been focused on what the customer wants, and then we choose the technology. So we've got a big fixed wireless base, we have a fiber base, but we look at the customer first and say what technology works the best here, and then we'll build fiber or we'll put up towers for wireless. Or in some instances, we'll recommend Evry or LEO as a service. But people are free to do what they want, and we don't lock people into contracts. So I'm sure there's a couple of people that will try just for fun, to experience what the satellite connectivity, will look like. But in essence, we don't mind people, as long as they stay with Herotel, we don't mind them using different technologies.
I guess. Right. What happens to the deal if the Vodacom Maziv integration changes Herotel's shareholding?
That is, in essence, already changed. So we're fully part of the Maziv group, and I think Vodacom has bought 30%, and they can go up to 35%. So that change has already happened. For now, the business or our business is operationally autonomous. So, you want to share as much services as you can in a group. But we want Herotel to be as close as possible to the customer and to service the non-metro areas. So, of course, you can share finance and HR, legal and network services. But we open an office in every town that we build a network, and we hire people from that town. So we want someone in town to help someone that lives there. And that's why we have a lot of offices. We don't have a big central building with hundreds of people in it. We open up a small office in every town that we operate so that we know our people are as close as possible to the customers, but also live there. They're part of that community.
So you think local entrenchment is key in this space?
Yeah, I think in a metro, you've always had so many options. Like if you're sitting in Joburg now and you want to choose, I think there's too many options. But if you drive outside of it, sometimes there's no option or there's one or two options. So, we focus on not on the metros, on the areas where it really makes a difference. We can drive to the customer and sort out a problem, because you never know. Is it the fiber networks that's down? Is it the ISP providing you services that has a problem, or the technician that installed at your house? Is there something wrong with your router at your house or your television? So you've got three parties, working on your internet connectivity. And if it goes down, who fixes it? Who do you find? And so you start with one, then they blame the other, and it goes on and on. But with Herotel, it's all us. We build, operate, install, and maintain. So we like to work in places where people want that. So if anything goes wrong, you phone us, we go out and we'll fix it.
Great. AI is everywhere at the moment, as you well know. So how does AI fit into this? What is Herotel's AI strategy, and can it, for instance, help with every rollout optimization, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, AI can do a lot of research, and it does well with repetitive tasks. So, in our business, we want humans to do the things that humans are good at, to innovate and to solve problems, that is unique or first-time problems. So we're happy to use AI with anything that's recurring. I mean, that's quite boring work, and you don't want a human to do the same thing, over and over if you can give it to an AI to automate. So I think it makes sense to use it. It does use a lot of bandwidth. So the more people use AI, the more internet access they'll need. And then, yeah, I mean, if you look at GIS or planning, if you look at a country, I think satellite's better than AI, unless AI analyzes satellite data.
Mm.
You can do better geospatial planning with satellites than AI. But I think AI is here to stay. It makes sense. I mean, we use it. A lot of people use it every day. I don't think AI usage will go down ever again.
And on a lighter note, do you think the singularity has occurred?
It's just one of the things I can say, no comment.
You can, yeah. No, there's quite a lot of split opinion about that. I mean, Sam Altman has said that the AI singularity it's already happening, and we recently spoke to some SA experts who say that they don't think we're there yet, and yeah, a lot of different opinions. So it's a fun thing to ask people.
Okay. I don't give that too much thought.
Okay. Great. Thanks so much, Vansel, and best of luck with Evry and with Amazon Leo and the rollouts and all of that. We'll be speaking again in the future, I'm sure.